Yo. Welcome into the ChrisBeCappinn Show. Today is June the 24th. 4 WNBA games on the board for today. We'll get into a quick recap of yesterday as well and get into the games, man. So let's do just that. Yesterday, we just had the Aces and the Liberty. I told you guys I like first half over 86.5. Aces could not score the basketball at all. I kind of thought the Liberty would come in there and win the game, but I kind of needed to see it from Sabrina. She came to play yesterday. Double-double last night in the win. And Liberty take down the Aces and hold the Aces, I want to say, to a season low, like 76 points. Player prop wise, we talked about two, and they both cashed yesterday. The first one was Breanna Stewart over her 18.5 points. She finished with 20. I told you I thought she would carry the offense. And then on the opposite side, it was Jackie Young over her points and assists. I think the number was 23.5, and she cashed that number as well pretty easily. So 2-in-1 day yesterday on plays that I left for you guys. Hopefully you guys were able to find some ways to make some money yesterday. Let's jump right into it for today. So we'll start off with Jackson. Your AI Sports Bet tool linked in the description of the video. I wanted to keep the prompt the same for today. Thinking about switching it up maybe for the weekends, but ask Jackson to analyze today's WNBA slate to identify highest value opportunities for point spreads and player props. For point spreads, highlight teams with a strong against the spread record when facing similar matchup variables such as rest advantage, home away splits, or recent offensive efficiency surges. For player props, focus on lines that show a significant discrepancy against recent 5-game rolling averages, tracking changes in usage rates due to injuries or favorable defensive matchups, specifically targeting matchups in points, rebounds, and assists, and then to provide the data, underlying metrics, and reasoning for each recommendation. So the first look here is on the Indiana Fever minus the 8.5 at plus 106 on Polymarket. It says that the Fever entered the matchup as significant home favors, and statistical profile suggests their position to cover this 8.5-point spread. Indiana has shown a strong against the spread record when facing teams with defensive vulnerabilities, and Phoenix currently ranks in the bottom half of the league in points allowed per possession. The situational spot also favors Indiana. They're coming off of a rest advantage compared to Phoenix squad that has struggled to find consistency on the road. So no rest advantage, but Phoenix has struggled to find consistency on the road. And so my model projects a double-digit victory for the Fever, making an 8.5 line at plus money elite value. Indiana's ability to push the pace and exploit Phoenix's perimeter defense, which has allowed a high volume of three-point attempts recently, is the decisive factor. So then, as far as player prop wise go, it looks like, I don't know about this one, Michelle Onyenwere over her 8.5 points for the Washington Mystics. And it says that she's the premier value play on the board. While the market has her line set at 8.5, she's cleared this threshold in 80% of her last 5 games, 70% of her last 10. Her 5-game rolling average is 14.4, which is nearly 6 units higher than tonight's line, showing a massive discrepancy between her recent production and market price. It says she faces a Minnesota defense that ranks second in the league against her position, which is typically a strong deterrent. However, her recent volume is simply too high to ignore. She's been a road warrior, which she's at home today, averaging 12.7 points in visitor games this season with a 75% hit rate. Given her near perfect hit rate over her last 5 games, the over 8.5 is a high probability play. So, and then there's a player prop on Sonia Citron and Nia Coffey, rebounds, and a couple more things as well. The Michelle Onyenwere play, I think, is really kind of based on the front line, but the Mystics not being 100%. We saw Shakira Austin and Kiki Iriafen miss some time over the last 2 weeks, but they're back. So I would tread lightly on the Michelle Onyenwere points prop for tonight. But that's just my thought. Again, it's always linked in the description if you guys are interested in checking it out. Let's jump into the matchups. First off, we'll start with the Minnesota Lynx, who will be in Washington. They're laying 8.5 points. It looks like is the consensus right now. This line is up to 9.5 on a couple books, 9.5 total, sitting right around 168.5 as well. So get to my notes. Injury report wise, I think it's pretty clear. Yeah, Minnesota, same, just Dorka Juhas and Nafisha Collier, and Washington doesn't have anybody on the report. So we are looking at a Minnesota Lynx team. I'm sorry, let's start with the Washington Mystics. So the Mystics have surprisingly, started to get it in gear. They won 3 in a row, all as dogs, covered all 3 as well, Connecticut, New York, and Minnesota. So some impressive wins, and they've done it with their offense, 88, 86, and 84 points in their last 3 games. And then on the other side of the coin, Minnesota which I thought I called this correctly. I didn't bet it, but I called it correctly in the last game. Minnesota was coming off back-to-back road games where they, beat a Sparks team that, was without Kelsey Plum. And then they went into Golden State, had to overcome, I think it was a 16-point deficit. So I talked about I talked about Washington in the last game when they were getting 13 and a half. This, in my opinion, feels like the bounce back spot. So Minnesota, I do think, you'll get a more focused effort in this spot after losing to the Washington Mystics. They're 8-0 ATS on the road this season. So they've covered every single game. If you look back at what happened in the last game, Minnesota just really couldn't shoot the basketball well. They shot just 19% from the three-point line. Nia Coffey, who I liked over her 1.5 threes in that game, shot 1 for 5. But to go along with Olivia Miles and Kayla McBride, they combined to go 3 for 15. And Courtney Williams, I think, was 1 for 3 as well. So throw that in there, 4 for what, 18? So I do think Minnesota will be able to shoot the basketball a little bit better in this spot. Washington is not the greatest three-point defense in general. Again, Minnesota just missed a bunch of shots in that last game. So if I'm betting this game, I like Minnesota. I like Minnesota early as well. But yeah, that's the only way that I'm looking to bet this one is Minnesota early. And then as far as the total goes, I'm conflicted. I know that Minnesota can score the basketball. Washington has been a little bit better offensively as of late, but Minnesota's also still, number 1 in defensive rating as well. So if we go back and look at, they're number 1 in defensive rating as well. So if we go back real quick, just a quick transition over to Outlier and look at player props, I would be going right back to the one that we just played. Nia Coffey over her 1.5 threes. You can see that she finished that game with just 1. But again, it's not about hit rate, right? In my opinion, it's about attempts, and the analysis stays the same. We just, got some bad variance. She shot 20% from the three-point line in that game, 1 for 5. But you can see here over her, this is what her last 10 games. She's shooting 47% from the field. So she's averaging 2 makes. She's getting up 4.3 attempts. She got 5 right here. She got 4 right here. She had 3 in this game against Golden State, but she only hit 1 in this game. So I think Nia Coffey is still in a really good spot. And I would be looking at her over her 1.5 threes. What makes it more attractive is that you can find it at plus 128 on FanDuel right now. You can see that right here, plus 127 on DraftKings. Caesar's got it at plus 127. So to give me, Nia Coffey shooting 47% in her last 10 games, thinking that she's going to get 4 or 5 attempts in this game and to hit 2 at plus money, it feels like a bargain. I do like that player prop a lot in this game. Nia Coffey over her 1.5 three-point makes. I think Washington will give up the looks today. And then I would only be looking towards Minnesota, in a bounce back spot early. The first half number really quickly is 4.5 on Bet365. I like it, and I'm probably going to be on that for today's game. All right, next game up, we have the Phoenix Mercury. They will be on the road in Indiana again. Total has come down. This was at 178 in the last game. These two teams just played on Monday, of course. And then Phoenix spread was at 7.5 in that game as well. So it hasn't really moved a lot. Now, the difference is, Phoenix was coming off that big win against Seattle. I told you guys Phoenix was not the right side in that game. I just thought Indiana would come out early off back-to-back losses. And, they didn't. They scored with 6 points in the first quarter on the three-pointer by Kelsey Mitchell before the end of the first quarter. And then went on to score 35 in the second quarter, but still didn't cover that first half. So in this game, injury report looks a little different because you got Natasha Mack on it. Akoa Makani still is out. Nogic is not with the team, and Sammy Whitcomb continues to be out. On the Indiana side of things, pretty much the same. Caitlin Clark listed as probable as always. So Phoenix didn't cover that game 2 nights ago. They're now 3-7 ATS in their last 10 games, and they're 3-7 ATS on the road overall this season. The Indiana Fever, not the greatest team in the WNBA. However, I do think that they're 8 points better than this Phoenix Mercury team. In the game on Monday, Phoenix shot 20% from the three-point line, 41% from the field overall, and Indiana was a plus 10 on the board, something that I think should continue. Indiana is by far the better rebounding team. The other thing that really interested me in this game, and one of the reasons why I didn't want to bet Indiana in the first game on a full game spread, is because they turned the ball over so much. And they turned it over 14 times again against the Phoenix Mercury, and that led to 17 points. And they still end up winning the game and covering the spread. They won that game by 9. I think Indiana comes out with a little bit more sense of urgency. And I'm not going to talk about the little the little mix up. If you guys watched it, then you know what I'm talking about. A couple different occasions with DeWanna Bonner and Caitlin Clark, and then it was Misha Hines Allen and AT. But outside of all that, like I do think Indiana is just by far the better team. The Mercury have, for one, they're down to start. They could be down potentially one starter and potentially Natasha Mack as well. I just don't think that they have enough offense. And it's not even that the Fever's defense has been that great. I just really, like, outside of Khalil Copper and AT, DeWanna Bonner's been extremely inconsistent. I just don't think Phoenix got enough offense. And as much as Caitlin Clark has been whining and complaining to the referees, she's been hooping. She shot the ball really poorly in that last game. I think she was 3 for 10 from the three-point line. Didn't shoot it well overall either. And she still finished with 24 points. So I think Indiana, the three-headed monster that they have with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. And then you got, all the supporting cast that they have in general, like from Monique Billings to Lexi Hall to Sophie Cunningham. They just have more, in my opinion. So I say all that to say, Indiana first half, I think they get the job done. I think we can call this a little bit of a rivalry now between the teams. I think that they're the better team. I think they get the job done early, as why I would be betting them again in this game. And then as far as the total goes, I agree with the line coming down under. You got a Phoenix team that's really struggled in the first, just in general as a road dog. They're now 7-2 to the under in games that they're a road dog. And this is the second highest total that we've seen for them this season in games where they've been a road dog. The highest was the 178 in the last game, and that one stayed under by 15 points. Phoenix just don't have enough offense, in my opinion. I know that the Indiana Fever want to play fast. They're first in pace. That's the scary part. They're averaging 92 per game. They got off to that slow start. I think they had 6 points in the first quarter and still finished with 86. So maybe even, Indiana is able to score the basketball, but I don't think Phoenix coming along for the ride. I got a strong system on the under as well. I didn't bet it, but I do like Indiana. I think Phoenix is just bad unless they're playing against another really bad team. All right, so those are my thoughts there. Let's see. All right, so before we move to Portland and Chicago, hit the like if you can, subscribe if you guys have not. Let's keep going. So Portland and Chicago, not too much for me to like in this game, if I'm being completely honest. So we look at the injury report, and Carla Late is questionable. So is Carly Samuelson. And Carla Late her injury is interesting because it's an ankle injury. And the reason why it's interesting is because this Portland team hasn't played since the 17th. So they've had a full week off, after they beat Seattle. Remember, they were down by 5 in that game late in the fourth quarter. They ended up winning the game by 5 and covering the 4.5 point favorite, 4.5 as a home favorite in that game. They've actually covered 3 in a row. And that was after failing to cover. They started the month of June off really, really bad. They had actually failed to cover 4 in a row. So Chicago should be in a little bit of a bounce back spot, but this is not a team that I'm going to be betting on anytime soon. Chicago, 1-6 straight up at home. They've covered 2 of their 7 spreads at home. They've lost 6 in a row. But they had covered 4 in a row before they get absolutely embarrassed. And I was on Chicago in that game against Connecticut. They lost that game by 29. They were getting 3.5 points. I think they shot something like 17% from the field. It was like one of the worst WNBA performances I've ever seen in my life. To have a team full of quote unquote dogs, right? You got Natasha Cloud out there. You got Skylar Diggins, I think was like 1 for 7. Camila Cardoso can't get the ball to herself every time. And to do that, to lose that way against the Connecticut team that had also lost, I think 8 in a row. It was hard. So I'm not going to be on Chicago anytime soon. Are they the better team? But especially with Carla Lake not being there, potentially. I got some systems that do back Phoenix in this spot, but Phoenix is also a team that I'm just always kind of wary of. Now, they have the significant rest advantage in this spot, but that doesn't always translate into wins. Actually, you can find a lot of systems to say the team that's, a lot more rested than their opponent typically don't play well. So not any of my money going on Chicago, though. They will be on the top shelf for me. The way I think about this game, initially what I thought was, like, it's got to be an under spot, right? Like, if Carla Lake doesn't play, you can look over here on the left-hand side and see that this Phoenix offense is not good. Portland offense is not good. 10th in offensive rating, but they are the worst defensive rated team in the WNBA as well. Chicago's offense is so inconsistent, and they really, really struggle to score the basketball. You can see that they're 13th in offensive rating. Defensively, they are 8th. I think that you would get a little bit better, effort on the defensive end from Chicago. You got a Portland team that's 14th in pace as well. We know Chicago want to get up and down the floor, but Chicago is just, they have an inability to be able to knock down a three. And Portland, I know that they suck defensively, but they are top 5 in above the break 3-point defense. I think that all of that should help. So initially I lean under, but then I found some strong stuff towards the over as well. So I'm absolutely not playing this game. I'll stay far, far away from it. If Carla lays in, I think my top pick would be, if I had to play anything in this game, would be Portland plus the points. Just really wanting to fade Chicago and thinking that, maybe we see them play the way that they played again in their last game. So game I'll stay super far away from, just giving you guys my thoughts. Last but not least, we got the Atlanta Dream. They will be in Golden State on the West Coast. This game is the first of a little back-to-back series as well. And what was another game? Portland, Chicago also got a rematch that we just talked about on Friday. That game will be in Chicago. And Atlanta Golden State will be rematch on Friday as well. So this line has seen a little bit of money come in on the Atlanta Dream. They opened as a 1.5 point favorite, and now they're up to 2.5. And the total that was at 165.5 is now, 166.5. I'm sorry, has come down a little bit to 165.5. 160. Yeah, it came down to 164.5. Now it's going up to back to 165.5. So injury report wise, Atlanta, same thing. Just Aaliyah Nye and Breonna Jones out, and Golden State will have everybody active. So we got an Atlanta team that's been really, really good at on the road. They're 6-2 straight up on the road, and they've won 4 in a row. They've covered 3 of their last 4. They were actually covering, a 18-point lead at the end of the first quarter against the who were they playing against? Toronto. And then I think they scored like 13 points in the fourth quarter somehow. I'm not even sure how you scored just that few many points against Toronto, but they did, and I didn't cover that game. But 5 straight overs for this Atlanta team. Offensively, they are the number 1 team in the WNBA now. The hesitation for me with Atlanta is that this is their first game on the West Coast. You look for them to slip up just a little bit eventually. You go through and look at who they've actually beaten in their last few games, and the Indiana team that's been underperforming, underwhelming on the season. Don't really get a lot of confidence off beating Indiana, even though Indiana is a really great offensive team. And then Toronto, which I think that they should have won that game by a lot more than the 7 points. Remember, they ended up laying 14.5 is what that line closed at. And they were initially it opened like 12.5. So they took a lot of money and did not cover that spread in that game. And before that 2 Indiana games, they beat a Toronto team as well. So the last time they really played a really good team was New York. And they lost that game by 14 when they were laying 3.5 points in that game. Then we start to look at the Golden State Valkyries. This is a team that has also been really, really good in this role, and that role is at home, 7-3 straight up at home. They're coming off back-to-back losses, so you should get a really focused, motivated effort from them in this game. They got a one-day rest advantage as well. Those losses came to the Lynx and to the Minnesota Valkyries, and their offense kind of failed them in both of those games. They scored 75 points against Minnesota, 73 points against the Las Vegas Aces. Both of those games going under the number, and 4 of the last 5 for this team have stayed under the number as well. And the way I kind of think about this game, I was looking at the matchup and kind of matching the teams up on the floor. The thing that Golden State likes to do most, we've talked about this religiously on this show, is shoot the 3-point shot, right? This is a team that loves to live and die by the 3. They're number 1 in above the break 3-point makes, attempts, 2 and above the break 3-point field goal percentage. And this is an Atlanta team that runs you off the line. They are number 1 in opponent above the break 3 above the break attempts, and number 2 in opponent above the break 3 makes on the season. Atlanta is a really good team as far as forcing turnovers, limited offensive rebounds. They just don't beat themselves. A lot of the times when Atlanta loses is because their offense kind of fails them. They've been really, really hot recently. I struggle with taking the points with the Valkyries just because the Valkyries have been such an underwhelming team this season when they've been playing against really good teams. I talked about this and talked about liking them in their last game when they were playing against the Aces, off back-to-back losses. So it was a double revenge spot for them. Just not been able to get the job done. So when I look at the Valkyries this season and they're playing when they're playing against a team that has a win percentage that's 55% or better, which of course Atlanta does, 5-7 straight up, 6-6 against the number. They lost back-to-back to the Lynx and to the Aces. They beat the Wings by, beat the Wings by 11, but then lost to the Aces, lost to the Lynx, but they did cover. I don't know, man. It's I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to want to take a side. I kind of want to bet Atlanta, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not sure if I'll get there or not. I also found the system on the over. Not sure if I'll bet it. I know both of these teams are pretty good defensively. Atlanta will want to get out and push and run as fast as they can up and down the floor. And I just worry about Golden State being able to knock down those threes. So won't be on the total in this game, but I'll lean Atlanta and keep it there. Didn't really look too deeply in the player props in this one. So as far as a quick recap, get out of here. We go back to the top. My recap would look like Minnesota first half minus the 3.5. Going back to my girl Nia Coffee, over 1.5 3-point makes. It'll be her, Kayla McBride, in my opinion. I also think Minnesota wins and covers the full game as well. Indiana first half minus the 3.5. Also think that game goes under because I don't think Phoenix is going to be able to keep up. You know what? I won't. I don't think I'll put that up. I think I'll leave that one off. I don't think I'm going to play that. But I do lean under. Chicago, Portland. Probably won't bet it, but Portland plus the 2.5. I need Carla. I need Carla late in the game. Need CL in to bet that. And last one, Atlanta. I do think that they are better, a little bit better than the Golden State Valkyries. I worry about the late night spot though, because it is Atlanta's first game on the West Coast. If Atlanta loses this one, maybe you get them in a bounce back spot in the next game. But Atlanta minus the 2 is available right now. Those are my thoughts, man. Probably some more player prop work that I could do, but we'll leave it at that for now. Resources all linked in the description of the video. Jackson, Outlier, Moneyballer, Odds Jam. I appreciate you guys as always for tuning in. Long WNBA season. We're up right now. Hopefully it continues to be that way, man. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday, man. I'm out.